record it. Okay, we're live now. Um, Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Africans, because this is basically focused towards Africans, my African brothers, and like I said in the introductory video, Mr. Scoffrey, Nana, and I have been having a conversation, and I can feel the passion when he talks about this subject, and I can say he's my comrade, one whom we share the same passion on this subject. And having discussed on one or two occasions centered around this, we felt, all right, let's share this further with the general public and see their reactions, and we'll pick it up from there. Now, who is Mr. Nana? Well, he's a purposeful and passionate, compassionate, transformational executive coach, a certified professional corporate trainer, professional certified MBIT master coach, and lead consultant for Zoe Global Consults, with almost 2 decades of combined experience and over 2,000 plus coaching hours. And I'm sure you know, Mr. Nana, that's extremely massive. That's a very high feat to reach. According to NSA, the National Speakers Association, that's a global standard. At that, his core competencies are ontological mindfulness, ecological executive coaching, systemic thinking, embite coaching, neuroscience, strategic communication, and branding, leadership, and team building, management and strategic corporate re-engineering. Well, this happens to be one part of my area of core competencies, and that happens to be one thing that made us vibe together almost immediately. He has offered executive coaching to industry leaders in Africa, in UK, in the US, and facilitated a variety of trainings for many corporates, corporations such as Cocoa Processing Company, Ghana Airport Company Limited, Ghana National Gas Company, Ridge Nest Hotel, Ridge Royal Hotel, Smile Train Incorporation Africa, and co-facilitated for Rig World International Services, Sin Lab Ghana, and Coca-Cola Bottling Company Ghana. Professional and career positioning. Well, he's Africa's first certified ontological mindfulness, ecological, and systemic thinking executive coach from Ideal Coaching Global in the US. And he's also Africa's first Black male certified professional MBIT Master Coaching, Neuro Coach Institute South Africa, and MBIT International. First male professional certified coach PCC in Ghana from International Coaching Federation ICF, the US, a certified professional corporation trainer IAPPD in the UK, and the world's first student to graduate with an advanced diploma in leadership studies from the Institute of Commercial Management ICM in the UK, holds a graduate diploma in management studies Institute for Commercial Management in the United Kingdom, an author of 4 books and over 80 articles in print and online news portals, both local and international, featured in over 200 radio and TV interviews, both in Ghana, South Africa, in the UK, and in the US. Without any reservation, I have the singular honor to invite my very good friend and brother, Mr. Scoffrey Nana. Pleased to have you on this show tonight.
Thank you very much, and thank you for getting me on this discussions. And I'm humbled. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Yeah, so I just want to pick your line of thoughts from where we left it at just before this program started out. We were talking about some of the obvious signs of the divide in Africa. Of course, the subject we're looking at this evening is the signs of anything is possible. Because for those who know a lot about Africa, they know that we seem to be far from where we want to be, what we
mm,
want to achieve. The divide is like a great wall dividing us. But then there is still a science that believes that it is still possible. And then we want to raise up some very obvious concerns where the divides are, where the challenges are, and then the likely solutions from our own end. And we're
mm,
talking about one of the divide and the challenge, which has to do with our target disunity. Should I call it disunity or yeah, lack of unity? Yeah. So and where we don't see ourselves as one, even as small as the ECOWAS or the West African countries are, we don't see ourselves as one. Well, that doesn't. This is not the first area of concentration for me tonight. But since that was where we left our conversation just before this session, I felt let's just pick it up from there. So you were talking about the international passports, the ECOWAS passport, which is not actually an individual national passport, and then you're talking about the Ghanaian ID card. So you could just follow through on your line of thought on that.
Thank you very much, and I once again appreciate you for the time. And I think what we were just saying is Ghana has what we call the West African um, identity card. Our passports, as we mentioned, are West African passports. They are no more necessarily um, your individual country's ID. It is all of us. The moment you say you have West African identity, it means that your identity is bigger than your immediate psychography. And the question I posed was, do you think it's so easy for me or you to travel with any of West African identity cards or passports across the West African sub-region? Let's say even if you not fly and you want to do border-to-border driving. It's not easy. So what you and I were troubleshooting is from the perspective that what is it that makes us not want to connect ourselves to each other in a manner that it facilitates smooth movement? When movement is smooth, market follows. When
Trade
marketing
follows.
and trade follows, economic boom.
Yeah, correct.
So what exactly is there that makes us not being able to relate and associate with ourselves, even when on paper or in identity we are saying we are a community, economic community of West African state? When we say we are on paper, why aren't we in practice? What really could make us not? If I pick just even Ghana and Nigeria alone, we share common ancestry.
We share a lot in common.
We share common ancestry. And if Ghana and Nigeria share common ancestry, then it means Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria. How many countries? 4. We share common ancestry. Now, when you cross from Ghana into Ivory Coast, there are indigenes called the Akan on the side of Ivory Coast. If you come to the northern part of Ghana, there will be indigenes between Ghana and Burkina Faso. Indigenes, common heritage, common ancestry. But when we live within the structured confines of the demarcation. This is Ghana, this is Burkina, Nigeria, and co. And even when we've agreed to come together and say we have agreed to become an economic community, what makes it so difficult for us to practice it? Why? Why? What makes it so difficult? Why? What is in there? Why? So that is what we were sharing. And I believe as the conversation goes deeper and runs deep, we may explore some of the dimensions to why this is so. I don't know what's your take also.
Yes. So as you were talking, I was going to throw a question to you, like a follow-up question, but let me just run my line of thought on this. Because I didn't want to get into politics in this conversation, at least for today. But could it be that some political elites or figures are benefiting from this? Could it be that there are some people who are, making merchandise of what is currently going on, or this divide, and such that it is benefiting them, even at the detriment of a whole nation or nations? Coming to the aspect where you spoke about indigenes, natives of these places. So, do you think that the era and the period of the slave trade or slavery played any role in this?
You see, I want to ask a question. What do we think happened before the apartheid government agreed to say, okay, we want to sit at the table? What do we think happened behind the deep curtains before this? Okay, we agree. This must happen. What do you think happened for Europe and America to say, after almost like 20 or something years plus that slavery was abolished, before the countries that were in this business, what do we think made them say, okay, we agree, we will abolish the transatlantic slave trade, we all agree, we are stopped? What do we think happened behind the scenes? And if we consider that right after, by the time they said they first stopped the transatlantic slave, look, that was when colonization also began on the fringe. Right after it's okay, we've all agreed. Then suddenly the scramble for Africa ought to happen. All this did not happen overnight and by accident. It's not automatic. Okay.
Sure.
So when the slave trade was abolished, the agreement was said we need to continue the slavery in another phase, colonization. That was what Kwame Nkrumah also said, that even though we have political emancipation, or even though we have political freedom, there is the economic freedom as well. And that is where actually the freedom lies. Winnie Mandela also said the same thing. Winnie says that they have fought iron and bullet with their blood. It's our dispensation that must fight for economic freedom thoroughly. And Nkrumah said the same thing. So, recently when the scandal called Cambridge Analytica happened,
okay,
the European Union summoned Mark, and the US Senate also summoned Mark.
Okay.
that created certain policies which allowed the US and North American citizens to have certain protections that allow European Union countries, together with Britain that has even hesitated, also to have certain safeguarding policies.
Hmm.
Where is Africa's own? Who was at the table? Was there even a
Thanks in Africa.
seat? Where is the collective Africa bargaining power that could have also warranted African Union to call Mark to the seat and question him in legal terms, just like the European Parliament did, just like the US Senate did?
This is profound.
So, in the entire scope of the world, there are standards for every product. There are standards for every product. The standard of the product from China, which has the largest assembling plant of everything in the world for the whole world, the quality assurance and the standards that goes to Europe and also to America. Please, who is at the table making sure that the same quality comes to Africa?
Comes to Africa.
Okay. There was an example that I think a German institute did a research with automobiles where they collided two cars of the same brand, the same make, the same spec, the same. One that is imported as, let's say, what we call used car from Europe or used car from America. So just a used car. And one that is so brand new, also bought and shipped overseas. When those two cars were set up to collide, the brand new car, the same model and everything, got tattered when it collided with the used car, the same also make. And all these cars were found in Africa. So the used car that we will say, okay, somebody have used it in Europe, America, and we are buying to use and everything, were more durable than the same make that
Brand new.
Brand new.
Apparently, those brand new were made for Africa.
So what we don't know that when you ship, when you say a fleet of a brand is shipping its fleece to Africa, who is at the table making sure that there is even an African standard? You know, in the Middle East, because of the nature of their weather and the heat, even the material quality that goes into the cars that are shipped into those areas is so durable that, you know, the weather can get so warm that even your light, if it is plastic, it can melt. But they've been able to standardize to the point that if we import now cars from, let's say, the Middle East, the Dubai and Co., you know, we are buying an absolutely durable car. I'm just sharing all this so that we can have a certain tangent to begin to ask ourselves questions. The coach in me loves to ask questions that we can reflect on at our own pace and time.
True.
So why?
Sure.
Okay. In ontology, which is the first child of philosophy, which basically means the study of the beingness of things. And if you pick the word human being, it is humus and a being. So humus being, meaning that something occupies the container or the matter called humus. Something. where others will say it's a spirit, somebody will say it's a soul occupies that. And if that being that occupies the humus, we pick it in African context, an African way, the question you need to ask is, what is the challenge with that being? So in ontological coaching, we are not fixated about outputs. We are not fixated about results. We are not fixated about performance. Because we know if we are able to coach your ways of being, your why of being, and your who of being, it will produce a certain doing, a certain action, a certain
Effect.
implementation, exactly, that will produce a result. So if I look at your results, I'm not going to look at the actions you are taking. I look at your results and go and question, for instance, Doc, whom are you being that is producing this result? And I won't come and question the actions you are taking. That is ontology. The question you asked earlier on, you asked what could have been wrong? Is it slavery? Is it colonization and everything? And I keep saying, slavery was not an accident. It's not an accident at all. How many of us are aware France, in quote, colonized Britain for 400 years?
France, yeah.
That is how come our English is 60% worse in French. The English we speak is 60% worse.
Yeah.
That were borrowed from the French language.
I agree with you. Like the word etiquette, it's a French word. It was borrowed from the word etiquette or something like that.
Plenty. Yeah. Militaire, economic, all that came. It was because after all this was French took over almost about 400 years before the United Kingdom started packing up to make sure they defeat France. If you look around, it means that sharing the spoils of war and taking people captive after war. Let's those of us a Christians, so let's do some bit of Bible. When Judea and Co were invaded and people like Daniel and Co were taken, it's only Daniel and Co that we can hear their story, because they were found to be intelligent and all that. So the people needed that kind of intelligence. Is it different from our brothers whom the Western world and Americas found them intelligent and needed to use them to do things? Is it different? No. So the blueprint, Josephus, who was picked during the raid on Israel or Judea then, right? Then there was nothing like Israel, state of Israel that existed. The Israel now is not the Israel of the ancient Bible. They are two different things. The 1945 created Israel is not the same as.
It's not the same as that, yeah.
The biblical Israel. I hope my fellow Christians know this. Josephus that was taken by the Romans because of how learned he was, to be able to support
his business.
Exactly. So the history of taking people from their natural habitat for any other benefit is not new. So by the time the Portuguese got here, have we forgotten the Arabian world were already picking slaves from Africa? You know, and what we need to question was it an accident or it was a thought through? If that style of breaking human beings did not exist in those fears of the world, they couldn't have implemented what they did over 400 years. So if you look at the Portuguese and the Dutch, they both almost did like 300 years, or yeah, almost like 300 to 400 years in Ghana, like in the Gold Coast, which in reference, the West African enclave, if you pick it in blocks, for instance, the Portuguese and the Dutch alone, before the British, if you add all of them, their slave trade and all that,
Mm.
it's about 500 years of slavery where people were conscripted from our sources. Doc, people don't know this, or we don't know that. I want to share something small.
Okay.
The whole experience was a program. And the pillars from which this program were to be deployed or to run, the medium, were slavery and colonization. These are just mediums. They were just mediums. Colonization and slavery were just mediums. If you want to break any human being,
Mm.
first take their language away from them. That is number one. Two, define them in a certain nature. So among the categories of human beings, the black human is more associated to a chimpanzee, a gorilla, and in pictorial form, so much so that when your identity is distorted, we can reprogram you. Then they came to our culture, our creativity, and our personality. Now watch this. If you read some part of the scriptures, Paul went to a certain group of people. I don't know whether it's a Corinth or so, which is currently Greece and so. He said that your worship is not in question. It's not in doubt. It is only the medium. So instead of a stone, replace it with Jesus.
Yeah, worshiping the unknown God. I think that was Athens.
Exactly. So you are worshiping the unknown God, which means you know the existence of the omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. It's only the medium. Watch this. What were we told when they got to Africa? Everything we do in worship is paganism. So when we erase and make you feel that everything about you is erroneous, it is the part of the code of the entire program. Then, do you know the power of rape?
Mm. It demoralizes, it reduces self esteem,
Okay.
it kills the vein totally.
Exactly. And coming from multiple brain integration techniques and braining, and by the grace of God, in all humility, like you said, I'm the first black MBIT master coach on the continent.
Mm.
What we do in MBIT is we study the human being, and we know we have not only one brain, we actually have three brains as human beings and other intelligences. I'm only going to scratch the surface because I've mentioned rape, which we call the pelvic intelligence. The most painful thing to do to any woman that can cause her deepermost spirit even to vanish from her because it is shameful, because it is dishonor, because it is a breaking point for that to happen to that part of your body and go right through all the other three brains. Why were our forefathers raped? Why were our foremothers raped? It was not just, it didn't happen because, oh, they want to have their time. No, it was part of the programming. Because any human being that is raped over a period of time is broken. And guess what? It was not only our foremothers that were raped, even our
Yeah.
forefathers who got raped.
Yeah.
And guess what?
I read a few.
They made it so obvious that we could watch. Those in the chains could watch what was happening to their own.
Yes. Yes. They had camps where some of those things were being done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the last time we mentioned epigenetics, we are saying that whatever you continually are made to believe or see, and the intent behind it, if it can go deep within, it can affect your interoception, affect your neuroception,
Yeah. Yeah.
and alter your DNA,
Yeah.
or
That's
alter
correct.
and alter your.
Correct. Correct. That's
So
epigenetics.
yes. So the act of rape sends a message of valueless. Send a message that we are worse than even animals. So the one who was enduring the rape and the one who was observing,
Who was
they have
observing had same impact.
same thing in common.
Same impact. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
So whatever that we are going through now, and what is so sad that we don't know is that according to some words of Bruce Lipton and his Hecklon neuroscientist, Doc, those who suffered that, whether in person or by proxy, carried that pain, the darkness of that fear. Even when they died, it traveled through their children
Yes. Correct.
by generations.
By generations at least three.
So,
Correct.
the divisiveness we have, this is why it works. That I said, even when the ECOWAS passport and the ECOWAS identity card says that we have agreed as a people in principle to travel with ease and trade with ease, there is a part of us deep down that believes in division, as we were divided. You know, when you speak your mother tongue, your dialect, not language, dialect, it becomes the anchor for strong neuroplasticity. What language does France speak? French. United Kingdom, English. They have no other language. America, English. Japan, Japanese. China, Mandarin and Cantonese. Korea. So the question I want to ask is, what do we speak? And our medium of instruction. So we see, even our tongue has been taken away from us. Recently, there is this one of the astute journalists in Ghana, Kojo Yankson. We were all commenting on the thread by Paulina Cranchi, another astute intellect, a journalism lecturer. And the concern she put out, I noticed a lot of people couldn't grab it, saying that the Ghanaian community has become so flexible that it can take any language in dialect easily on. And we don't know the impact of that, because when you don't have a strong foundation for your tongue dialectics, It affects the firing of your neurons to be smart. You see? So what has brought us here? A lot of the greatest African scientists, Philip Emeagwali, Dr. My own countryman, Dr. Mensah and co, the father of fiber optics, the father of the internet, Philip Emeagwali, the Nigerian and co. Why do you think that is anytime they leave the shores of this country, they are allowed to blossom? How many patents really that turn the world around is allowed from this continent? Except you are naturalized there, except you have schooled there. The only African Union, the United Nations leader that we had, what was the color of the wife? So the signs to why we are where we are is what I have shared. Put 10 intellectual Africans in a room, they will produce volumes of papers. But because our gut, you see, when you take all the three brains, we have the cephalic brain, which is your head brain. We have the cardiac brain, which is your heart. And we have the gut brain, which is from your tongue to your anus. That is your gut brain. I won't go deeper. We don't have a lot of time. The part of your body that ignites action for decision is your gut brain. And what I'm sharing is not news in certain part of the world. So if you check the word decision, we say decision making. We don't say decide. We say decision making. It means in decision making, you must coordinate or bring all these three brains into synchronicity or coherence, such that whatever you put out there, it comes from your body or the collective body presence, such that implementing it is not a challenge. You design it with compassion and passion, values and principles that enforcing it is not a challenge. When you put our leaders into a meeting, what do you think happened? So that is the point where there is a possibility of science. Give me a minute. Hold on.
Okay. Okay.
So the African problem, or the Africa's challenge, it's not an accident. It's a programming that sits within neuroscience. As simple as that. That's what I want to say. And to be able to solve it, we must go back there. Because science, the same science established that we can rewrite the pathways that have been created. And your perception alone about life and interoception, and when neuroception occurs, it wires and causes different neurogenesis to emerge. And when a neurogenesis happened, it will now be looking for other aspects of it that has spike up and neurosynapses. And when the snap is taking place, a pathway is being created. So whatever that is a challenge scientifically is also a solution scientifically. But the question that we are
And
asking,
neurons that fire together, wire together.
as simple as that. We don't have the luxury like it happened in Europe, where And even that, they agreed to partition Africa. There was an agreement. And this is the programming that it will
I read
take
that.
to do this. This is the programming that it will take. This is the period. And if you check, none of the events happened less than 50 years. All the events lasted more than 100 years. All the events. In fact, a slave trade, I think 3 years ago or so, we celebrated 400 years of it in Ghana.
Hmm.
If you put both slave trade and colonization all together, it has lasted over 600 years. Even in some part of Africa, it's 700 years.
Hmm.
So you see, they could see ahead against even the present lives and say, this is where we will get and what we will do, until we begin to do the same thing.
Hmm.
Because we say that in ontology, one of the profound teachers of mine, Betty Spruce, says that there is a womb in every wound. There is a womb in every wound. Because until you have a cut, you never knew that your body will grow back.
Hmm.
Until you have a cut, you never knew that your body will grow back. Or until your teeth removed as a child. Because when you're going to have all the teeth, you are so fixated that is all that you can until it removes at a certain time and phase and period. And imagine you didn't have idea that when your teeth remove, it will come back. How it will bother you until it comes back. So the challenge confronting Africa, I'm using the word challenge because in challenge comes solutions. In challenge comes creativity. In
Correct.
challenge comes innovation and invention. So the possibility that we can do what we can do is there. And remember, Africa is the youngest continent after Asia. It has the youngest population after Asia. In fact,
Yes. Yes. Correct.
60 something plus percent
Correct.
of Africa's population, the
Young people.
1.4 billion population of the continent, 60% of that is 15 to like 40 something.
I think 45 or thereabout. 45, 47. Yeah.
So
Correct.
let's just pause and look at the potential in there. Or it is also a ticking timing bomb. So until we are able to see and experience that in this same wound, if you remember last time we were talking about algorithm,
Yeah.
how many do you know the most verified accounts in Africa are politicians, entertainers or celebrities, and footballers?
Entertainers, comedians, and all. Yeah.
Why aren't such discussions that we are holding, why doesn't the algorithm allow it to go viral for even the people from which this is content is saying made to them? Why? You think it's accident?
No.
No. So the machinery put in place to continually suppress. How many podcasts from Africa goes into other markets and become number one?
Really. Of such content like this, you would never find.
No. No. So if you check, when China decided to catch up with the world, it used technology and it used its own
Its
numbers.
own. Yeah. Correct.
India have done the same thing, that we have the numbers. If we consume what we design
What we
and
design and produce, we are good.
produce for our because it's the numbers we are looking for.
It's the numbers that
It
count.
creates economic power automatically. After
True.
the third industrial revolution, in a way, mass production, the whole world went to China for mass production. And China was not stupid. He said, yeah, bring all the patents. We will sign all the laws and everything. Oh, yes, yes. China has produced, and even in advance, a lot of the things that were sent there for mass production. Yeah, and they had the numbers. India had the numbers. What is Africa doing with her numbers? As I've just mentioned. Imagine this content we are sharing receive 100 million, just 100. We have 1.4 billion. So even 100 million is still negligible.
Negligible. That's less than 10%.
It's still what? Negligible. Because I didn't even mention 1 million, not even 10 million. So if 1.4 billion, we are to get half of it for such content to transmit, and we will consume it as our own in daily discussion. When I go and check the top 100 leadership podcast and see which of that comes from Africa. Which comes from Africa. So the challenge of the African is both philosophy, religion, and science. These are the three things. These are the challenge of Africa. These are the three source of our challenge: philosophy, religion, and science. One of the things that I'm excited about, what that is emerging in coaching, is that there is what the world called team coaching. The forebearers of coaching in Africa call it Ubuntu.
Okay.
But if you look at what Ubuntu means and what Ubuntu is really, it is not actually like the team coaching we know, because I facilitate team training. It is out of the concept and the philosophy of Ubuntu that I designed neuro resilience and team bonding. So we don't facilitate the training as output of what teams must produce. We have designed it and facilitated such that the people, something must happen to your inner man to be able to now create ripples of current between 2, 3, 4, 5 human beings. And then when all happens, you see, like I've mentioned, when your being is teased out right, it will facilitate the actions to produce a result. So that is Ubuntu. But where are these kind of coaches in all African decision makings? Doc, in the coaching industry, the whole of West Africa, the only chapter we have is ICF Nigeria chapter. They have, and it's even barely 6 years old. A population of over 350 million people. It's the coaching chapter is barely 6 years old. Ghana is the next. So look at the entire economic West African state. There are only 2 chapters. East Africa, Uganda, Kenya, South Africa. That makes 5. Egypt, I think Morocco and Tunisia. That makes 8. 1.4 billion population. We have only 8 ICF chapters. Just think about it. So this is just teasing out that if we really want to find solutions, it's not the usual banter. Okay, the blame game. Okay, this that. No, it's if you cannot see and understand, our heart, which is a brain, the power of love. I wish we know. You see, among all the 3 brains, we are all frequency beings.
Mm.
So the head brain, what we call the cephalic brain, produces 5 waves: the theta, beta, the alpha, the gamma, and all that, the five. Then the heart is the brain that can travel 3 meters away. That is how come if you have a friend who is continually angry, every time angry, you also embody it even without knowing why you are angry. Because the electromagnetic fields of the heart and what it is transmitting, you pick it. Without you knowing, you will pick it. So when our leaders go into meeting, what heart is present? When our leaders meet at African Union, when Nigeria president and the Senate meet, what heart, what kind of heart is present? When our president, Nana Akufo-Addo, and Ghana ministers, when they meet, what heart is present and what is in that presence? What is in there? You know, when the world is talking quantum, it was even far here before science school agreed, because when philosophy said human beings goes beyond, the human being goes beyond just this flesh, science said, nah, lie, it's not possible. Over 100 years ago, over several centuries, science said it was impossible. Today, that same science says it is possible. That is where the word quantum, I call it quantum being, is
Yeah, you
now.
call it, yeah,
Exactly, I
quantum
call it I
thing,
call it
quantum
quantum being.
physics.
Yes, I call it quantum being because I'm not talking about machines, which is physics. I'm talking about human beings. It's a quantum being. You know, a research was done that a cell was taken and a part of it was put like to space or beyond a room. Whatever that was done to the cell in the dish
Yeah.
here manifested in
So
the
the
dish somewhere.
friends, yes,
So we call it
yeah,
quantum entanglement.
I've read that.
How did our forefathers used to plug leaves for medicine? How? See, it's not juju. I'm not saying powers don't exist. No, I'm not talking about powers don't exist. Powers do exist, but it's not juju. Quantum entanglement. If you can entangle with the plant, it will tell you what it can be used for. As simple as that. And there is a part of the brain in our body called the gut brain. Its actual job, we call it simplified intuition and instinct. Is that not it? What is intuition and instinct? It is the part of your brain or the part of your body that can go even ahead of you. Haven't you dreamt before, forgot about it, until one day you find yourself in a space, a time, activity, or something like, come on, I've seen this thing before.
Deja vu.
I have been here before.
Not yet.
I have heard this before. I have seen this. I. Then maybe later it flicker you. Your instincts go like, I told you,
Hmm.
I showed you. But because all this period, we've not grown to know this as part of our being. So what you don't know, your body does not record. And what you don't know that is even your body is unable to reveal or expand it for you
Hmm.
because you can't comprehend it. If you can recognize it, become aware of it, now it can bubble up more for you. So when you bring our leaders to sit around a table, the question I'm asking is, have you noticed that our leaders are only heady? And check this, the African leaders we only are heady. You see how they craft it. Look at how we want to bring election. It is heady. Then the people, we are so passionate for nothing. It is the people that can argue for the MP whose children are schooling abroad and still butcher each other because
Hmm.
our passion goes beyond, and the body knows.
Mm.
There's threshold of all the emotions. There are threshold for all the emotions. It's true. So until we are able to bring this discussion to the point where philosophy of the African,
Mm.
the religion of the African, and science, we are the only continent that says that for Africa to thrive, we have a challenge called language. Please, European Union, do they all speak one language?
No.
They've gone past us to even come up with euro, the third or fourth most powerful currency in the world. Echo is over 20 years. It's still in the room. Imagine the flimsy excuses we have cited. Like you said, some of these excuses benefit a lot of people because anytime they meet, the countries go and meet, they travel per DM and all that is a benefit. So if they resolve it once and for all, the traveling and all those stuff will not come. And you see, poverty mindset. And so when people talk about mindset, I'm careful. I'm careful to contribute because all of us limit mindset to this brain.
Mm.
And in fact, we even interchange it. When we want to refer to the cephalic brain, we call it mind. And when we want to refer to the mind, we call it brain. But in actual sense, if this your head goes into your body 7 times or 8 times, how can this alone be your mind? you know. So when I am referring to mindset in such context, I'm talking about your multiple brains, other intelligences, and your quantum being. That is what forms the mind. And I have so many profound researchers who have done a great job in this field that I love. I'm waiting to, because all the people I'm following, I'm waiting to follow people of my own to also understand some of these dimensions. So poverty is a program that goes into your DNA because poverty is not the absence of money.
The mindset.
Yeah, poverty is not the absence of resources. It is a perception that has been ingrained in our DNA that we amount to nothing. So look at the typical hungry man. All that they want is what they eat, what they eat, what they eat, nothing else. And you see, even the gut does not like that kind of eating. The gut's brain does not like eating that is supposed to fill the tummy. It wants eating that will, because science is saying that a lot of the challenge, like diseases that goes into our brain, comes from the microbiome of the gut. It is what sneak out from your microbiome, from your intestine, that goes into the brain, that creates all sort of the enzymes and stuff. That is where it comes from. So it
Right.
actually means that it's not the absence of food that is poverty. It is what you've been made to believe, which Bruce Lipton says biology of belief. Belief is a perception. Does it make sense? Doc, wait. Doc, wait. Does it make sense? The arable land Nigeria has got and the level of poverty or hunger in Nigeria, does it make sense?
Mm.
Let's troubleshoot this. Doc, please help me out. Does it make sense? The arable land, because the land we occupy on as citizens of West African nations, it's not even half of what we have not farmed. It's not
Yeah.
half. Even Israel is growing in rocks. They don't have arable fertile land, rocks, and they export to us. We have arable land. Why are we hungry?
Mr. Nana, let me come in here. You have touched on all the areas I wanted to take them as subtopics. But what I've decided to do is I will dwell on programming. We will end with that. And in the next session, which of course we both agreed that we're going to have multiple sessions, we're going to continue with programming. We can't finish programming today. But I believe, I'm a strong believer like you are, that it all begins from the program. We are program beings. And if we can change the program, epigenetics says the gene that is right at the foundation of the being, um, can be mirrored and altered, or can be reactive to whatever it is that is happening out there. And
Yeah,
the one, the quantum being, and like you rightly said, I'm just trying to pick your words here and there. The quantum being goes beyond the three-dimensional reality.
yeah,
And it's not just what you see, what you feel, what you hear, what you taste, and all of that. It goes beyond all of that. And if the program can be reprogrammed, and then if there could be some unlearning and relearning going as far back as where we're coming from, why are we where we are at? Of course, science says it's possible. Like you said, science says it's absolutely possible. So if we can look at the program, we have rightly dissected 3 centuries, 4, 5, even 6 centuries ago. And hey, come on, what has been there all along that was like a curriculum. It was like a syllabus, and these people were able to pass that belief, were able to pass that template, that syllabus, to the next generation, to the next, to the next. And they've been able to intelligently do it such that it's no more the initial means of the physical, you know, a physically abusive method. Now it is more of the psychological part. And then, and even up till now, we are yet to wake up. And this has moved 6 centuries or even more. We have a lot of work to do. It's even very uncertain that it can be concluded or we can achieve this even in this generation alone.
no,
But then, if we say we cannot achieve it in this generation alone, and then feel because of that, let's throw in the towel, let's just let things be. No, but if we can start from this generation, hopefully, the next generation can pick up from there, and then improvement continues. So, what I want to appeal to you is this: in our next conversation, we're going to be picking up from the program. Whoever wants to know where were we? Where did it start from? These things are on documentaries. They're on YouTube.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
find out horrific videos about. In fact, I'm following some YouTube channels that really digs deep, so deep, bringing up in short episodes stories about Africa and some of the horrible things, inhumane things that happened. You spoke about rape. I've watched a lot of documentaries about these things. So that said, want to know where we're coming from, you can find all of this content, but where we are at and how we can reprogram ourselves is one of the things I think is not, we don't have a lot of such content online. And I want us to, in our next session, we want to focus on that. As part of the programming, coming to religion, I've watched a lot of things too on religion and how, Africa was hypnotized. We had religion, like you said. We were like those Christians in Athens. Okay, don't let me call them Christians. People in Athens who were worshiping because they were just like Africans. Africans worshiping wood,
But but but
stone.
but even in the same Jewish culture, Abraham,
Mm,
the father Terah, the Bible says that he was a merchant of idols. He only
yeah,
didn't worship idols. He was a merchant of idols. In fact, so he went collecting idols from certain places and selling it. So when he could call Abraham, you see, Abraham knew worship
yes,
because it is what the family does, worship. So if you tell Abraham that I am that I am, that which you seek through stones and this I am that and I'm calling you, the worship is not gone. It's only the meaning that is exchanged. That was what Paul said to the atheists or whatever. I've forgotten. So even the religion, I keep saying that if you come to Ghana, for instance, even according to tribes, we have different sects. So you cannot even say we share the same God worship. It's a cut across. Some is trees, some is animals, some it's the rivers and everything. So what you choose, and it still comes back to the science of belief. What do you So what you believe in, what can you do with it?
Mm.
So I don't even see why, as a Christian, I should have a tango, a banter with a Muslim.
Mm.
As a Christian, I don't even see why I should have a banter and tango with an atheist, even though they
Mm.
don't call it a religion. So far as you believe there is no God, as far as there is the existence of belief,
Mm.
the worship. Why should I have a tango with my African traditional religion? Why should we even fight? Hey, do you know what is interesting? I mean, the same people who are preaching DEI,
What's that?
diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mm.
I mean, the same people who are preaching that.
Mm.
So you see, it is not what I am believing in that is the challenge. It is what I do with what I am believing in, and what I am allowed to do with or without what I am believing in. Look, I have a background in healing of memories, and the first time I watched a documentary on forgiveness in the Christian domain, that whole night my heart broke heavily that we preach forgiveness but we don't practice it. As
Mm.
even Bible dictates to us. Lip service. Lip service. So you see, it is not what you are believing, it is the impact of what you have believed on you.
You.
I'm a Christian. I can only cite that I'm not a Muslim. I'm not an atheist. I'm not a tradition. So I don't know examples I can cite. But for example, a
Mm.
hand that works not shall not eat. What is not scientific about this? A hand that labors not shall not eat. What is not scientific about what the Bible says? It says
Mm.
that faith without work is
It's
dead.
death.
What is not scientific about that statement? The Paul said, if it be live in peace with all men. When your heart comes to a peaceful coherence, do you know your brain triggers powerful creativity?
Yes. Correct.
Next time I will share. When your heart is in coherence and it coordinates all your three brains, something profound emerges. So what
You
will you
can
do?
heal. Sorry, please.
Yes,
You
what you
can
can
heal your
do with
body.
the belief, what you can do. Why? The child that got healed by Jesus Christ, did the child have a belief in Jesus? No.
No.
No. The one that eye was open didn't even know who, couldn't see, and this
You
it's
didn't even
just
know who healed him.
it was just he said, I don't know him. How many research, innovative research are sponsored by the Christian community in Africa? Let's leave it there.
Rarely would you find.
Let's leave it there another time. How many scientific, innovative researchers are sponsored and funded by? As for my Christian faith, when I start going in there, they will say I'm antichrist. But so let's leave it. Let's leave it there for now. But that is part of what I mentioned as religion. The
Yes.
lid that is put on religion.
On it.
Then the issue of the philosophy. Because programming is all the three. Programming is philosophy,
Yeah.
belief,
That's
and
why I'm
the
holding on that. Yeah.
science. The three. So we will need to be visiting them one by one. Our philosophy, our belief, and our science. How many artifacts from Nigeria is still sitting in Europe that they must return it? What was in that they saw that if we were so blank and we are so useless and so daft like apes, why
Why
would
did you
they
take
put
it?
the bronze that we designed and everything? Who told us that we could use that mineral to create things that they can come and steal? So you see, like I said, maybe the next session, the next session, no.
Really, really. Thank you so much, Mr. Nana. You've really poured out your heart. You've been so. This session has been so expository. Um, I was going to talk about education in Africa, the slave trade, religion, the future of Africa, one Africa, possibilities in Africa and of Africa, the African mindset, genetics, epigenetics, the scientific 100 years effect. You've run through everything. But what we're going to do in the next session is we'll be looking at the programming, and then, like you said, we'll pick on the first one. I'm just thinking which one to go for. first, as which one to go with first, but very certainly not science. So it might likely be religion. I might like to go with either religion or philosophy because what you are told and made to believe, once you believe, it goes and forms the program. Once it
Yes.
gets into the subconscious
It
and
goes
it
to my
is
program.
written there,
Mm,
you're an autopilot. You're an
absolutely.
autopilot. Even if it's a lie, once it gets to the subconscious, you're programmed and then you begin to work on auto. So it's it. So, and then of course, religion too. Like I was trying to follow through on my thoughts. Those people came, I don't know, maybe they were well meaning missionaries or they were
It's
told
like I said, it's all part of their
the
plan.
program or the agenda, or maybe they were told to come and do this. See, you are a missionary, fine, we'll allow you go, but this is how you do it. And then we were hypnotized, and then we're made vulnerable. And when they slap this cheek, don't turn this other one. All of those things happened. So
Doc,
it's either going to be
Doc,
religion.
how did our shrine stop taking palm wine and started taking schnapps? How did that happen? Maybe when we can answer.
Imagine that. Imagine that. No, 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 no. Come on, come on, come on.
How did our shrine stop taking palm wine and
This is so
locally
sad.
brewed
This is so sad.
liquor and started taking schnapps and mirrors? How did
What you have, what you have, you jettison and ignore, and then go buy.
look?
Seriously, seriously, we have a lot to do, and it has to trickle to the minutest and the smallest, and we need to begin to unearth this thing you said is extremely minute, but it's very major.
No, that's why I'm just teasing them out. Just let's our viewers just wonder about it. That how
Come
how come
on, come
how
on,
come that
come on.
our shrine stopped using palm wine, stopped taking palm wine, giving it to our gods, and started doing schnapps, bottle drink from Europe. What happened? How? What happened? What happened?
We'll continue this conversation.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, my very good friend. I really do appreciate this time you spent, and
I'm
it's
humbled.
obvious, without any shadow of doubt, you're extremely passionate about this subject. We're going to come back having this, and of course, I look forward to also, one of these should I say, one of these days or soon, where we can have a physical session. Of course, it could also be aired live too, but a physical session somewhere where you're going to be on the platform on the podium to express more of this subject. Hopefully, we'll be able to also find other Africans who are who also share this same passion, and then slowly but steadily we can begin to grow momentum, and then definitely our voice will be heard. It is
That's right.
certain. We'll keep doing this. Persistence, peace, and then one day our voice will be heard. And the desired change from that little boy in the village, or that girl who seemed to be walking the street in the city trying to street trade and all that, will hear this and then have their minds emancipated, having their minds recalibrated, and then they get to understand that there's more to me than what I'm doing. There is more to me than my skin. There
Mm,
is more to life than what I'm told. And then they begin to ask the right questions, and that's coaching. And when they begin to ask the right questions, the problem is already half solved, because at that they begin to look out for the right answers, and then hopefully in our generation we begin to see some desired changes and desired outcome. My very good friend, Mr. Nana, I so much appreciate you, sir.
I'm humbled. Thank you
Okay,
so much for
so
having
look
me.
forward to having another session again with you.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Yeah, cheers.
Bye.